The Baker Street drifted silently through the dark void of space, its sleek hull gleaming faintly in the dim light of distant stars. The moon loomed ahead, its barren surface casting an eerie glow. The ship's landing thrusters fired in precise bursts, gradually easing the vessel toward the lunar surface. Inside, Holmes adjusted his gloves, his movements measured and deliberate. His exosuit's augmented reality interface flickered to life, displaying a cascade of diagnostic information across his helmet's visor. But his focus was elsewhere, consumed by the weight of their mission. "Watson," Holmes began, his voice calm, though with a barely detectable excitement, "we are not just setting foot on the moon. We are embarking on a journey that could alter the course of humanity's place in the cosmos. Think of the implications." Watson, who had just finished securing the last of his equipment, gave him a sideways glance. The ex-military doctor's movements were precise, honed by years of training. "Holmes, you do have a gift for the dramatic, don't you? But I'll admit, this mission does feel different. Theta 7 has been the site of some of the most groundbreaking discoveries in recent years. And now, with this disappearance—" Holmes cut him off, raising a hand. "Not just a disappearance, Watson. An anomaly. A crystalline artifact of unknown origin vanishes from the most secure facility humanity has ever built, and there is no trace left behind." What kind of mind could accomplish such a feat? What could drive such an action? Watson leaned back, folding his arms, a thoughtful frown on his face. "Do you suspect foul play, or is there something else at play here?" Holmes's eyes gleamed with intensity. "Both possibilities intrigue me. If this is the work of human ingenuity, it represents a leap in our technological capabilities, one that could rival our most advanced achievements. But if the answer lies beyond us—" He trailed off, letting the weight of his words hang in the air. Watson's voice dropped, a hint of unease creeping into his tone. "You mean extraterrestrial?" Holmes nodded slightly, his gaze fixed on some distant thought. "The absence of evidence never precludes the extraordinary. The artifact itself was unlike anything we've encountered. Its crystalline structure, its energy signatures. We must consider every possibility until reason allows us to rule them out." The ship's landing alert chimed, followed by the familiar shift in gravity as the Baker Street's landing gear engaged. Holmes remained still, his expression contemplative. "The artifact's recovery is secondary," Holmes continued, the weight of his words settling into the space between them. "What matters is understanding. The technology, the intent behind it, and the broader consequences. To solve this is to unravel a mystery that could stretch far beyond the reach of Earth, perhaps even beyond our solar system." Watson gave a small, resolute nod. "If anyone can make sense of this, it's you." The final roar of the ship's landing thrusters filled the cabin as the Baker Street made its descent. The soft thud of its touchdown reverberated throughout the vessel, a gentle reminder of the immense void outside. Silence enveloped them, broken only by the soft hum of the ship's systems. The lunar rover stood waiting at the base of the ship's ramp. Its sleek, adaptive wheels and anti-radiation plating glinted under the harsh light of the sun. Holmes and Watson boarded it, syncing their exosuits with the rover's systems. As the vehicle began its journey across the moon's barren landscape, Holmes sat with an uncharacteristic silence, studying the terrain as though it were an intricate puzzle he was determined to solve. "Holmes," Watson asked after a long pause, "are you assessing the route, or are you already piecing together a theory?" Holmes glanced at him, a faint smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "Both, Watson. Every detail here tells a story. Each grain of dust, the way the shadows fall. Our destination, Theta 7, is not just a site of excavation. It is a meeting point for human ambition and something older, something ancient. Watson's brow furrowed. You think the artifact's disappearance is linked to its origin? Holmes's gaze fixed on the horizon. It's not a matter of belief. It's an inevitability. Artifacts like this don't vanish by accident. The real question isn't why, it's how, and to what end. Theta 7 came into view, its domed habitats and scaffolding stark against the vast, empty expanse of the lunar surface. At the entrance stood Dr. Evelyn Drake, chief archaeologist. The orange insignia on her exosuit marked her position. Even from a distance, her tense posture was unmistakable. The rover came to a halt, and Watson stepped out first, his boots sinking slightly into the fine lunar dust. Holmes followed, his movements deliberate as his eyes swept the area. "Dr. Drake," he greeted with a small bow. "Thank you for allowing us to join you. I understand the situation here has been difficult." Dr. Drake sighed heavily, frustration evident in her voice. "Difficult doesn't begin to cover it, detective. We've lost an artifact that could rewrite the entire history of human civilization, and we have nothing, no explanation." Inside the containment dome, the sterile, unnerving quiet of the place was broken only by the hum of the monitoring systems. Bright floodlights illuminated the area, casting sharp shadows on the walls. At the center stood an empty plinth, surrounded by deactivated containment fields. Holmes's sharp eyes scanned the space, cataloging every detail. "Dr. Drake?" Holmes began, turning toward the archaeologist. The artifact was stored here. Dr. Drake nodded. "Yes, detective. It was discovered deep beneath the regolith, encased in a crystalline matrix. We brought it here under the highest security protocols. The containment field was active, the monitoring systems operational. Yet when we arrived this morning, it was gone." Watson crouched next to the plinth, noticing faint scorch marks along the edges. "Holmes, these marks, they don't look like anything I've seen before." Holmes knelt beside him, his scanner emitting a soft hum. "Correct. These are not marks of removal. They're signs of interaction. The artifact didn't simply disappear. It activated something. The residual energy signatures suggest an event that defies our understanding of physics." Dr. Drake frowned, clearly frustrated. "We've scanned the area multiple times, but everything's come up inconclusive." Holmes's eyes glinted. "Inconclusive data is often the most valuable, Watson. It shows us where to look next." He turned back to Dr. Drake. "Retrieve the dome's security logs, and I'll need a full account of the artifact's discovery and all subsequent handling procedures." As they combed through the logs, a strange pattern began to emerge. Faint energy spikes had been recorded over the past week, too small to trigger alarms, but forming a consistent timeline. At the same time, geological scans of the surrounding area revealed something unexpected, a network of subterranean tunnels hidden until now. "Tunnels?" Watson murmured, studying the data. "Man-made?" Dr. Drake shook her head. "If they are, the technology used is beyond anything we've seen." Holmes's expression grew thoughtful. "Or perhaps they were made by someone else. Prepare a rover, Dr. Drake. We're going underground." The tunnels were a labyrinth of smooth, reflective walls, pulsing faintly with an eerie energy. The deeper they went, the more the air itself seemed to hum with an almost imperceptible charge. Holmes led the way, his scanner beeping at regular intervals, tracking the faint traces of residual energy. "Holmes," Watson whispered, his voice reverberating through the still air. "What exactly are we looking for?" Holmes's voice was steady, but carried an edge of excitement. "Connections, Watson, between what we see and what we don't. This anomaly is part of something much larger. We must uncover its shape before it eludes us entirely." They emerged into a cavern, its walls studded with crystals that pulsed like veins of light. At the center of the cavern stood a towering obelisk, its surface humming with energy. Holmes's scanner lit up, the readings spiking dramatically. "This," Holmes murmured, stepping closer, "is the key." The obelisk towered before them, its surface covered in intricate patterns that shimmered faintly in the dim light. Holmes knelt before it, tracing the patterns with his fingers. "These symbols," he said softly, "are not of human origin. There is a rhythm to them, an underlying structure. This is not just an artifact. It's a message." Watson stepped forward, his eyes wide. "A message from whom?" Holmes stood slowly, his expression filled with a sense of discovery. "If the artifact that disappeared was part of a greater whole, then this is a key to understanding it. This place wasn't chosen for its proximity to Earth. It was selected for something far greater, its position in a cosmic network." Dr. Drake, standing behind them, took in their exchange. "What do you mean?" Holmes's voice dropped to almost a whisper. "There are forces at work here, Dr. Drake. Forces beyond our comprehension. The tunnels, the energy spikes, this obelisk. Each of them is part of a larger puzzle. Someone or something has been watching us. The artifact wasn't lost, Watson. It was taken, intentionally, and we followed its trail straight to the heart of the unknown." Watson felt a chill creep up his spine. "So, the artifact, it wasn't just a relic." "No," Holmes said firmly. "It was part of something much larger, an invitation, or perhaps a warning, and we've only just begun to uncover its true purpose."